Hi, Craig.
Hello, Craig.
Craig
Yes.
doesn't like us unless we're nice to him.
How is your
Craig.
day, Craig?
I
How
don't think
is
he's had
Craig
much of a
doing?
day.
He gets cranky on us.
Craig is giving us the silent treatment.
You know the reason why people used to talk to plants and rocks and stuff, right? It's not because they're superstitious, no. It's because the rocks and plants used to revolt whenever they were treated poorly. They would fucking unionize, and they'd be like, "Fuck you."
But also, if you say nice words to plants, they grow faster.
Has that been experimentally verified?
No.
I'm pretty sure the correlation there is that the people who talk to the plant care more about the plant, so they take better care of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Shadow CrossFit.
Yeah, what she said.
I'm sorry, I can't do shadow CrossFit.
Shadow roll?
You're not into the culty thing?
I can do shadow walk. How about that? I can walk.
How about hiking?
I want
Wait
the
a
shadow hike.
Listen, Paul, if you want to just take us all on like an Amazonian shadow run where it's all like wilderness based, I'm just saying it's an option.
Shadow car trip. I know it's
Shadow-
cheating.
Shadow road trip.
Well, our team just happened to end up in the Florida Keys.
No. We're the team got hired, the Forest Service to maintain the trees and stop forest fires.
Why would you hire shadow runners to take care of trees?
And then we have to investigate a murder mystery, and the killer was actually a sentient glowing crab that lives in the nearby lake.
I think
You
there
wanna
are
shoot the
awakened
crab?
crabs.
Becomes monster of the
I'm
week.
sorry, I'm just gonna shoot the crab.
Anyways, shadow run.
Shadow
Mhm.
run.
We we left the team at Fred's.
Just leaving
Convenience
Fred's to go to the nightclub thingy.
Yep, Cecile had gotten into the van and taken the wheel, and Kirsten had gotten on the back of the bike with Deandare, and Boxer was still headed back to the van, if I remember right.
Yep, pretty much.
And Grace was also still in the van. She hadn't gotten out of the van.
Yeah. Hold on. Can you run that by me one more time? The last bit there about the van.
Grace, you were still in the van, right? You never really left the van. Oh, or did you?
Not
Did you leave
physically.
astrally? Yeah,
She
you went astrally.
projected out of the van.
The Hive Queen and the Hegemon.
All right. So you guys are headed to meet this fixer who apparently knows something about your situation and is potentially able to help you with it. And he's contacted you through Kirsten. He's set up a meeting and he's asked that you all join him. And I think there was some question. Grace was feeling a little bit of anxiety regarding that situation.
It's not on the top of my head, but I know she expressed some concern and how this wasn't really piecing together in her head. That was it.
Okay. Well, in any case, traditionally we start with an opening scene, and tonight will not be different than that. So here goes. Seattle in February isn't pleasant. Mix in the sixth world's ever-present pollution and it gets worse. Our camera pans down through the morning, driving mix of rain and sleet, each drop leaving a gray and greasy residue onto what appears to be a modern corporate campus. In spite of the season and the weather, the buildings and grounds are well maintained, with neat pedestrian pathways. On one of these, a perfectly aligned cohort of men and women of all metahuman variants and ages in neat black running suits with gold trim are jogging in unison. Their leader is an older human with a military physique and haircut. As he bellows out cadence, the cohort responds as one. The camera zooms in on a young human woman. Her face shines with pride. Her blonde hair is tied back neatly into a tight shoulder-length ponytail. Both her demeanor and her perfect hair appear impervious to the grim moisture soaking her compatriots. The camera zooms rapidly back out and across Seattle's dreary skyline, then plunges into a more industrial neighborhood, across a parking lot in which a single blacked-out roadmaster sits, through a set of faux Western saloon doors under an unlit neon sign, and into a large space decorated in the trappings of a poorly remembered and idealized neo-Western barn, replete with pseudo-sawdust-strewn plastic-plank flooring and badly taxidermied paracritters on the walls. In the center of the dimly lit space, an orc hangs suspended from his bound wrists. His head hangs down, and dark blood is drooling from his split mouth. His knees have sagged and don't support his weight. In a circle around him stand several black-clad figures. Their postures are relaxed, their weapons at ease. Before the orc stands a slight Asian woman, dressed in an impeccable pencil skirt, well-structured jacket, and pink blouse. In her right hand she wields an evil-looking knife. It is not long or oddly shaped, but its dark sheen and thin blade resonate with intent. Dark blood runs down the blade, across the woman's hand, and drips into the faux sawdust. She says, "We traced her comlink to this location. Where is she?" The orc moans. "I swear, I don't know nothing more. They was here, and then they left, in a grid guide. That Catwoman come back and got her bike the next day. They had a talking horsey, and it was nice. Please don't hurt Kirsten. She's just a girl." The Asian woman hisses in frustration. She wipes the blade on the orc's shirt, and then it disappears underneath her jacket. She stalks off towards the door. One of the figures in black armor steps up and places the muzzle of a heavy pistol against the left armpit of the orc and pulls the trigger. The pistol bucks and the orc instantly slumps. The camera follows the small Asian woman out of the door and zooms into the sky.
Damn, he was nice.
Great. Perfect.
Quirky.
This is where I have to give some bad news. I am going to have to finish that pasta real quick. I'll be back. Could be
Okay.
a while.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that character?
I do.
Yeah, he was nice.
That was the first week I showed up.
Yeah,
Though I didn't have a character yet. Or no, I had a character.
he was a bit slow, but he deserved better.
Aren't all orcs and trolls kind of slow?
Oh, that's racist, honey.
That is very
I'm gonna
incredibly
do
racist.
racism when you can't stop me.
Oh my god, horse racism.
Yeah. The thing is, Cecile and I had talked about this later. Veronica and I had talked about this later, but Veronica never changed the, I forget what it's called, but there's a code. Every comlink has a specific identifier and code, and she was still using it when you guys were at the bar. She never changed that code. So anytime she logs into the matrix through it, she's being tracked. So unfortunately, she was tracked to that location. In the meantime, she's taken care of that. Sort of a bit of background. All right, while we're waiting for Veronica, I guess I'm going to take a quick break too. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Tea break?
Yep, tea break.
Welcome
Everyone
back. Anyway, are we gonna do the funny gaming thing?
Shadowrun.
We found is it beginning?
It's
Finally?
beginning.
Oh god!
We
It
got through the opening scene, and so
We're driving to the jazz bar.
yep, Kirsten drops Cecile and the rest of the team the pin. So D&Dare, you get, well, you're not really super tech involved, right? So your comm's like super basic and in your pocket and probably not connected to you in any way. So Kirsten's just sort of yelling at you, giving you directions. The location of the meet is actually in Tacoma. I believe last session I might have said that it was in Auburn, but in any case, we're going to have to edit that out. So she drops you a pin. The location is in Tacoma. It's a jazz club, a jazz and blues club called Samovar.
Can I read reviews?
Can you do what?
Can I read reviews of the jazz bar?
Yeah, absolutely. There is apparently, it's sort of an inside kind of place where A, you can't get in unless you know somebody, and B, when you do get in, it's got the reputation of hosting both up and coming artists and bands that are sort of niche and not so well known, but very highly regarded within the jazz and blues scene.
Mhm.
And every now and then also has larger, more well-known acts performing. But again, it's never a There's no cover and there's no entrance fee. It's more of a club in the strict sense of it being a club with
Members.
a very specific membership, and it is definitely rumored to be connected to the Shadows, which is not surprising given that it is known to be owned by a well-established fixer in the Seattle shadow scene, Prokop Skillful. So it has an odd reputation. It's the kind of place that people are dying to get an invite to, but nobody really knows how to get an invite to.
A lot of angry reviews about being turned away at the door.
A lot of angry reviews about being turned away at the door or not knowing even how to find it. The kind of thing like, how are we supposed to get there? Nobody knows where it is. But, and then in the mainstream, there's a lot of, there is actually some concern or voiced, that the fact that it's associated with shadow runners and potentially terrorists type of thing. So it all adds to an aura of a little bit of mystery and, sort of adds to the cachet of the place.
Good to know.
Grace, how are you? What are your thoughts currently on the meeting?
Of this person, Procrup Skillful, and it doesn't really piece together in her head. She is only following along in an attempt on the off chance, it feels at this point, that this is going to provide a meaningful and viable resolution to the crisis, let's call it, for her and her friends. Because they're kind of in a spot.
And Grace isn't really looking for work, right?
No, not really. She does what she does for personal enrichment and the experiences it provides. A part of that means that she has to be able to have new yin, but not at the cost of her life.
Yeah. Whereas Boxer is far more open to work, especially shadow type work.
Uh-huh.
And Deandere is probably sort of in the same situation.
I think Deandere's probably done some work in the shadows recently, but for like the last little bit, she's probably just been investigating on her own.
Yeah, you're looking for your
her
brother.
first major contact in the shadows.
You're looking for your brother, and you actually used to be a cop, a detective, so certainly at least peripherally aware and knowledgeable of the shadows. In any case, the drive to Tacoma is relatively uneventful. It's nighttime now, and Kirsten, sitting on the back of your bike, is giving you directions. And as you enter Tacoma, which is down by the docks and is a very blue-collar industrial area, similar in some ways to Auburn, but a little bit more. Has also had some upscale investment from corporations. So it has its own sort of skyline, but that's not where you're going tonight, apparently, as you follow Kirsten's directions and as the van is following you guys. You're entering more of a seedier, blue-collary type of area with a lot of older industrial buildings and warehouses. The area is full of bars and looks like local food joints and maybe some other less savory establishments. And then your small convoy pulls off into a side street between what appears to be an old, possibly abandoned warehouse and an ancient looking concrete industrial building that's discolored from decades of acid rain. The concrete or the plasticrete is blackened, and there are no lights or anything. The whole place is sort of dark and dim, and the little alleyway that you guys are pulling into is completely unlit. And as you drive further down the alleyway, you come to a what looks to be sort of a loading dock and service area behind this large industrial concrete building. And there is some low light above a couple of doors. Obviously, there's a large roll-up type door where the trucks would have pulled up and offloaded, and as well as at least one door that's more meta-human sized. you see several large, several figures standing around the door, and in the pool of light directly under or over the door, you see a looks like a smaller human female standing, smoking a cigarette. And so you guys pull up there. Kirsten gives you sort of the tap on the shoulder, telling you to pull over into the loading dock area, and motions back towards the van that this is your destination.
Cecile parks the van and gets out.
I think Dare probably parks her bike like right in front of the van, like perpendicular to the van, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that's it's like the exact same direction as.
Mm.
All right. As your vehicles pull to a stop and you start getting out, you see the woman in the light by the door sort of flick the cigarette with a practiced move into the darkness. The other figures standing around her are obviously a security team. There's about 8 of them.
Cecile goes ahead and walks in, or attempts to.
Walks towards the woman by the door.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, she's just walking toward the door.
Yeah, the woman's between you and the door.
Okay.
She's a little bit smaller than you are. We have a picture which we are going to show you. How about the rest of you guys?
I think Dare's not following behind Cecile. She's kind of motioning for what's her name? The NPC we have with us.
Kirsten?
Kirsten. She's like, "Come on, Kirsten, you're our ticket in," and starts walking forwards.
Yep. Kirsten's gotten off and taken off her helmet, and she's got it under her arm. And Grace, are you staying in the van or are you getting out?
She's going to stay in the van. Eventually, as she might like crack the window just a little bit so that she can try and listen into the conversation that's going on. But once they actually get in, she's going to astrally project and follow them from there.
Okay. So Cecile, as you get closer to the woman, you see that obviously she's surrounded by several heavily armed figures. There's a camera mounted above the door and what looks like a couple of other sensor type arrays. Behind you, Dare and Kirsten, and I imagine Boxer, are you following along as well?
Yes.
Okay, so the 4 of you get up to the woman. The security people are watching you, but they're not in any other way reacting to you. The woman doesn't get out of your way or anything. She's standing there and she looks at Cecile and Boxer and then at Dare, and she says, "I'm Nadia."
Good evening, Nadia. Shall we go inside, or?
Dare.
Boxer.
I know Kirsten. Kirsten, you're not coming inside with us. Kirsten looks a little disappointed but doesn't say anything. And then Nadia looks at Boxer and Dare and Cecile again. She says, "I believe we're missing one of your party."
The horse? I think Dare just says the horse and looks back at the van. Isn't she coming?
Nadia glances over at the van and says, "Yes, the horse."
Good. Okay. You green person, go get the horse, then.
You think you have the confidence to order me around, Norm?
Right.
Okay, you two. I'll get the goddamn horse.
Thank
She
you.
goes back and gets the goddamn horse.
Nightingale very much refuses to physically leave the van. There is probably a little bit of a scuffle. Eventually, she agrees to manifest right out of the gate and walk as a wispy, very much, she looks exactly like a spirit. This, like, unusually well put together paracritter, except it's ephemeral and almost translucent, but not quite, at least not enough to really matter. Wearing a cloak and practitioner's cap, but nothing else.
So you're just...
She can be seen, she can be sensed, And she can sense like conversation and stuff, but she's not physically there.
Is
If someone were
she
to put their hands through her, it would just be passing right through.
so is she astrally present or astrally
Astrally
perceiving?
present, yeah. She's astrally perceiving and astrally present. She doesn't actually have her physical senses, but it's a direct psychic connection that allows her to understand what people are intending with their words, for example.
Okay, so as the moment you manifest in that way, you see that there are two watcher spirits hanging around close to you, as well as two spirit of beasts, and that there appears to be a fairly robust mana barrier around the building.
Mm. Mm.
And the woman that the rest of the group has been talking to is magically active, as is one of the security people.
Can I make an sensing check just to see the full story, how magically active they are, I suppose.
Okay. So go ahead.
Two. I forget the table.
Got the book open here somewhere. Yeah, I just had this table open.
Class of the magical subject. The subject's essence and magic being higher, lower, or equal is 3.
Say that again, please.
So the important thing is I can sense cyberware implants, the class of the magical subject, including if they're like a magician or an adept or what. If I've seen their aura before, I may recognize it regardless of physical disguises. Since she's always a sensing, that's kind of possible. And also the general state of the subject's health, their general emotions, and yeah.
All right. So you are sensing her.
Yeah.
She's, like I said, she's magically active. She's probably in your range from a magical ability and power standpoint.
Don't forget her emotional state.
She's not emotionally. You would say that she's more bored and maybe somewhat annoyed.
Mm.
And as you glance around yourself, you see the two watcher spirits. They're just little balls of look like little balls of fuzzy electricity bouncing around, but they don't seem to be in any way, focused exclusively on you or your team, as neither do the spirits of beast. The spirits of beast appear to just be patrolling the perimeter of the mana barrier.
I see.
How
But
long has it been at this point?
that you guys have been there?
Mhm.
How long? I mean, it just took you, less than a minute to walk up to Nadia and her to introduce yourself. The time would have been, how long did it take Boxer to persuade Grace to manifest?
She probably would have done it very quickly, but I don't imagine Boxer would have been aware of what Grace was going to do, so she wouldn't have suggested it, so Grace would have to process it on her own while basically being told you have to physically come here now, you know?
Yeah, so you guys have probably been there less than a minute at this point. And, Boxer gets Grace. Grace manifests as this sort of ephemeral being. And Nadia's watching all this happen. Probably as Boxer walked back to the van, Nadia reached back into her jacket and pulled out a packet of cigarettes and lit another one, and is sitting there smoking, sort of in that posture that you see in the picture that I attached, just sort of waiting for you guys to all come up there.
Well, it appears the horse is here.
Mm.
Yes, the horse is here. I suppose we'll open the mana barrier. Shouldn't be a problem for her then. That's fine. If you want to wait out here, she seems to address the words towards Grace. If you want to wait out here physically, that's fine.
I would prefer that. Is she a sensing right now? Can she tell that I'm not physically there? Is that because I was thinking that she might look kind of like a normal spirit, if that makes sense.
You can't tell. Well, I guess you can tell by her words.
Well, I would be able to tell because when she's a sensing, when she's astrally perceiving, she would be dual natured.
Yeah, either that or she's the the Watcher spirits or something else has communicated it to her.
I see. Okay. Sh- Grace is just going to say, yes, I would very much prefer that.
Nadia just shrugs, flips the rest of the second cigarette that she's lit, that she's barely smoked, back off into the darkness. And she looks at Kirsten and says, well, Kirsten, like I said, you can't come in tonight. And so I would appreciate it if you would just either wait here or wait in the van with your friend. Kirsten doesn't say anything. She just sort of nods and walks back to the van.
Weird question. How far did she flick the cigarette butt away?
Probably just over the edge of the loading dock.
Okay.
Keep this in mind for later.
I think D&J would probably step down off the loading dock to make sure the cigarette butt is out.
Okay. It is fairly drizzly and rainy, so nothing's dry here.
Okay.
But you step down. The security detail watches you, and but nobody makes any kind of move to intervene or anything. Nadia watches you.
I think as D&J steps up, she says, "Wouldn't want to start a fire."
You see a
Not in this part of town.
small flicker of a smile flit across Nadia's face, and she just nods and motions towards the plasteel door, which opens before you.
I think D&J would probably push past Cecile at this point.
Excuse you.
So Deandare enters first, and then Cecile is behind her, and Boxer and Grace.
Yeah.
Okay.
The mana barrier has been moved or something, right?
You're basically being allowed to pass through it.
Well, she's just going to do that. We're walking with Boxer.
Yep. So it opens in front of you. I think the barrier is probably there enough, or whatever kind of barrier it is there, that both Grace and Cecile feel a distinct sensation of having passed through either a ward or a mana barrier. And on the other side of the door is a large bare room, and on the far side of that is another plasteel door, very similar to the one that you just walked through. Nadia sort of is leading the way, and the exterior door closes behind you. You feel a sensation of air pressure changing. Why don't you guys all make a perception check?
Would I even make a check? So I have my physical senses.
No, you don't need to make a physical. You don't need to make a check.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Boxer, you're fairly hyper aware. Your combat experiences, are cluing you in here. This is sort of an airlock chamber. The back door's closed behind you. The door ahead of you is still closed. You feel the air cycling. In the four corners of the room, you see camera and sensor arrays, as well as what look like automatic weapon turrets. Nothing bad is happening, but you can tell that these are fairly sophisticated and extraordinary security measures that you guys are passing through. Deandere and Veronica, you're basically seeing, a large room, the doors. You feel the pressure change, and you're probably attributing it to the fact that the big door just closed behind you. You probably see the camera arrays and things like that. But other than that, it seems like a fairly standard sort of hallway with another door, which Nadia looks back at you and nods, and then opens the inner door. And this door, when it opens, now you suddenly are hearing music. You're hearing jazz. You're hearing a woman singing in a very low and slow voice, accompanied by what sounds like a fairly standard jazz quartet with a bass and a horn and probably some percussion instruments. You don't understand the language. Go ahead.
Do I recognize it? I have a 1 point in music.
Yeah, go ahead and let's roll it.
2.
Is it actually being sung by a person? Or
Yes.
is it on recording? Oh.
Nope. It is being sung by a person. And it's it sounds like some kind of probably 20th century Brazilian jazz. So she's probably singing in Portuguese.
Good to know.
Oh. I have Spanish.
Diender,
Obviously, it's not like perfect intelligibility, but
No, it's probably close enough where you probably can pick up some of the words and intent.
cool.
But as the
has
door opens and go ahead, Dinder.
has Diender heard this song before? Like, she's old as fuck, so like, if this song was ever popular, then she'd probably know it.
It's possible. It's possible. Maybe it does sound familiar to you. Did you hang out in Brazil a lot?
Probably not.
Well, I mean, could be, right?
Yeah.
So the second door is opened up, and you get this burst of music coming through it. Not really a burst. I mean, it's the voice is very very low and slow and just sort of melodic and harmonic, but as the door opens, you see that it's just another dark hallway in front of you, and at the end of it, you see some dim light filtering through what appear to be some heavy red curtains. And Nadia just keeps walking ahead of you. The Topps Company, Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sounds, audio, video, and/or any proprietary material used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company, Inc. has granted permission to the Hard Knocks Sorority podcast to use such names, logos, artwork, marks, and/or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with the Hard Knocks Sorority podcast in any official capacity whatsoever. The music for the Hard Knocks Sorority podcast was written and performed by Trace Mineral. The Hard Knocks Sorority podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons License 4.0, meaning you are welcome to use the material as long as you give us credit.